Welcome to the initiates. I am Yaya, the spiritual doula. Thank you to everyone who has chosen to tune in. If you are new to the platform, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. Also take a moment to hit the notification bell. And when you get done watching this video, shoot your girl a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. That is a beautiful way to pay it forward and give a little energy. We are definitely trying to grow the platform, raise awareness to the platform. If you're a returning viewer, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for returning. Please hit the like button. And if you have not turned on your notification bell, please do so. Something has been kind of weighing on my heart and my mind since yesterday. I had heard about this story sometime, maybe like 4 or 5 days ago. And I don't remember the young lady's name, and I'm pretty sure that maybe some of you have seen this story trending on TikTok or the social medias, YouTube. But there is a melanated woman. I believe her name is Toreka. I could be saying it wrong, but she was the young lady who committed suicide recently after she did a YouTube series about how she was raped at 18 by a female pastor, and they had a sexual love affair, I believe, for many years, and then for whatever reason the love affair came to an end. And this woman was this Toreka young lady. She was basically haunted by the memory of that trauma, and so she went to YouTube and she began to do a series about her experiences, and she was just really brokenhearted. You could see it all in her face. She was really having a hard time dealing with what had happened to her. And so today I want to talk a little bit about, if you have been listening or tuning in to the initiates, I did 2 videos on love, right? And since I did those 2 videos, I took a couple days to kind of really process what spirit was giving me to understand about the frequency of love, and how it is a neutral frequency, and it only comes into our life to highlight or to exacerbate what energy or what frequency is already in us, whether that frequency be light or darkness. Okay. And so I want to talk about self-love, love of the self, because love of the self can be very freeing, right? It can be very freeing, but again, understanding that love is neutral. It is neutral even in self-love, okay? And a lot of people do things in self-love, in the love of themselves. And again, you're still dealing with light and darkness as to how that love for yourself shows up. And I was thinking this morning, and I said, it's really unfortunate what the young lady had to experience. It's also unfortunate that she committed suicide. But I saw on TikTok, we're dealing with social media, so you always deal with that concept that, everything you see on social media ain't really true, and so on and so forth. But I saw on social media where she had written, and she said that in her death, she can basically take control over her life. And so in her love for herself, suicide was the answer, right? And in the pastor's love for herself, raping an 18-year-old girl was the answer. So as a spiritualist, I'm looking at this dynamic and I say, man, it infuriates me on one hand, because when you are in leadership, when you have been put in a position to govern over the spiritual growth, development of souls, I don't think people really understand the level of responsibility ability that is. And I could almost get emotional. Like, I feel myself getting emotional. Because I've had my own toxic experiences with bad spiritual leadership, particularly in Christianity. I have had to alchemize my own very deeply dark, toxic, abusive to the utmost. And so it infuriates me because there basically was a post where the pastor, there were some screenshots that were put up. And again, this is all really allegedly because you're dealing with social media. Okay. And, but I'm just going to take it for what I saw. There was basically a text message thread between the young lady and the pastor, and it was basically a brush off where the pastor basically dismissed her and told her that because she done got herself right with God, she doesn't need to do anything more. And that infuriated me, because if your God can give you a pass so easily without you making restitution for what you have done in a person's life. Now, granted, she was 18. 18 is still very young. I hear so many people saying, well, she was consensual and she was an adult, and that's young. 18 is young. Are you crazy? She was a consensual adult based on chronological age, based on law and legality. But in the mind, that's still a young adult. That's not an adult. That's the point where you're at a crossroad in life, moving out of childhood, but still got kind of like one little pinky toe over in childhood, but you got one foot over in adulthood. You're at a crossroad. You're not grown. Not at all. Not in spirit, for sure. And so when you are in spiritual leadership and you govern over and aid and assist a person's spiritual development, you mean to tell me that you serve a God who will just give you a pardon and a pass without you doing anything to make that person whole? It infuriated me. Because what I do on my channel, the ministry that I am building here on Mother's Daughters ITV, the ministry that I am preparing to build in the actual physical world and not just cyberspace, I take that shit very, very seriously. You are aiding people in their spiritual development. Are you going to aid them into an abyss, a dark space? Or are you going to aid them to light and freedom? Love is a very dangerous thing, and self-love could possibly be the most dangerous form of it. Because self-love, we romanticize that too. With this new psychological age of self-care and the self and heal thyself and the self, the self. Everything is about self. But now that I know, and I have been sharing with you that love is a neutral frequency, then even in our self-love, even in our attempt to gain more self-love, we have to investigate the nature of the frequencies within us. Because out of something that is supposed to be so beautiful can come the deepest, darkest, nastiest, most toxic individual possible. The God of Christianity got to be Satan. Got to be. It's always no other possible explanation. Because if all you feel you need to do, if all he's telling you, when you're a Christian, Christians all over the world, if all you got to do is ask for forgiveness, is repent, is put a little money in the offering collection plate, act like it didn't happen, because you have been pardoned, and all of your sins and all of your transgressions has been washed away with the blood of Jesus. While all of your victims that you have victimized are still sitting in that darkness that you deposited in them. So on top of their own darkness, now they're toting yours. And if all you have to do is just repent and just turn from your wicked ways, and you'll be forgiven, because Jesus paid it all. Jesus nailed all of the sins of the whole world to his cross. In this woman's love for herself, she committed suicide. Now, when I was young, like a child, like between the ages of 9 and I'm gonna say 16, when I really stopped thinking about suicide, was probably around 18. But from 9 to about 18, which is exactly 9 years, I suffered really bad with suicidal ideation. Really bad. The thing about it that we need to understand is that everything you do in this physical body, when you leave here or you leave the physical body, it's like the universe is a bank. It's just a big old bank, right? And what you do in this body, you are making deposits into that bank. Okay? And so the even more unfortunate thing is that in her self-love, she thought suicide would give her control over her life. Right? She was trying to free herself from her trauma. And this is why self-love and this whole self-love movement can be very dangerous if it's not coming from the proper frequency. And this is why shadow work cannot be avoided. I said in the last video, if you have not watched that video, please go and watch the other two initiates, the other two videos. Give you a good understanding as to where I'm coming from. But if you don't spotlight the energies operating in you, then even self-love can turn out to be one of the most toxic tools you have at your disposal. Love is neutral. And why do I say that in her self-love, she thought suicide would be the way? And what is the point? The point is that when we don't leave here having properly alchemized our energies, you cannot go into the spirit and reside at a high vibration in the spirit if you don't develop that vibration here while you are in the body. The body is the vehicle. It is the vehicle in which prepares you. It prepares you to be able to vibrate out of the body at a higher frequency. So when we transition Whatever frequency you leave here in is as highest as you'll be able to go. Now, she left here in a lot of darkness. And when we cut ourselves short, or we are cut short, this is why certain spell work, certain things we do. If you are into any occult practices, any spiritual practices, you are equivalent to a spiritual leader. I don't care whether you have people following you, got a flock or not. If you operate in spiritual work, hoodoo, voodoo, Christianity, Palo, any of them, I don't care. But if you use your hands and your physical body to manipulate nature and to manipulate frequencies, if you do spell work, you need to understand the level of responsibility that is. You need to understand the level of responsibility that is. When we transition, we can only go as high in the spiritual dimensions or as low as the frequency we hold inside of ourselves before we transition. The deeply unfortunate thing is that this young lady will now have to come back to hell, because if you didn't get the notice, that's where we are. Because you cannot just bombard your way into the light. You don't get to cheat your way into the higher dimensions of evolution. That darkness, let me explain. The mother, who is the all and the womb of creation, the physical realm exists because she gives birth, right, to the physical realm, and she gives birth to the energies that govern it. And the whole point of this process is to purge from herself the things that no longer serve her. You cannot go into the light just because. It is something you have to do the proper purging of yourself as a created being to remove the darkness, because when you leave the body, you can only go as high as you have the frequency you have obtained. This is why you have ancestors who are in the afterlife and they are sitting in the ancestral realm, and then you have ancestors who have moved on to higher frequencies, and we call them spirit guides. They're not in the ancestral realm. The ancestral realm is the realm where the entities who have usurped the process, they pull spirits from that realm and reincarnate them from that realm. Okay? So if you don't obtain a high enough frequency while you're in the body, then there is a space for everybody who transitions in different frequencies. And when the trauma and the darkness is in you so heavy, right, and you don't alchemize that darkness, you have to come back until you do. It has become apparent to me that there must have been a lifetime in my past life where I committed suicide. And it could be for various reasons, because even rulers and chiefs and chiefess and princesses and all, you commit suicide sometimes when you just don't want to give over to your adversary. Back in the day, people who sat at high positions, when they would be at war with another nation or another people, if they got captured, instead of allowing the king or the queen or whoever of that adversary to take their life, they would commit suicide. We see it all the time in the movies where the king get captured and he falls on his own sword. So it could be for various reasons, but it was apparent to me that was a part of my karmic bank account, because I had a lot of suicidal ideation at a very young age. And the soul aided me. The soul aided me because every time I would go into one of these spiral energies where I'm spiraling, I'm 9 and I'm locked in the bathroom and I'm on the floor crying, and I'm literally begging for death. I'm praying to God to just take me. And I only asked because I had already kind of given up on the idea of being able to do it myself. Right? I'm 9, so I don't have access to a lot of things. Of course, I got access to knives. I could slim, and I hope now I'm not triggering anyone, but this has to be discussed, because self-love can be just as dangerous and just as toxic as the love of another or the love for another, because love is neutral. And so even then, with self-love, you have to sit and look at what is operating in you. If deep, dark trauma is operating in you, then that is what the love for yourself is going to attach to. Right? And if it's dark enough and it's heavy enough, then you will think that the only way to love yourself is to take your own life, so that you can escape the physical body, the physical existence, and not have to feel the hurt and the pain anymore. And so now we do things like commit suicide, and we have now placed suicide in our karmic bank account. So upon reincarnation, this suicidal energy will follow you. This is why it's never the answer. This is why a lot of the things that we do to ourselves, for ourselves, just trying to secure ourselves or trying to guard ourselves, it's never the answer. The answer is to sit in that darkness and deal with it until you find the light. Until you find it. Now, someone in the TikTok community had made a comment up under her post, up under someone else's post, because somebody else had posted this video she had put up and was talking about this situation. And the person who had commented said, well, I feel like there's something else going on here, but I don't want to say what it is. And so everybody was under the comments like, please tell us, please tell us. And she finally said, well, I think what happened is the Toreka young lady, and I hope I'm saying her name right. It seems like she was a part of some sort of spiritual occultic practices, and it didn't go right. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, 18. But then I went and I watched one of the young ladies, the Toreka young lady's videos on one of her series, and I paid attention to the background. Her spirit brought my attention to the things that was around her in the video. She was at home, and I started seeing certain spiritual, like singing bowls and incense, and then she had a backdrop. It just all looked very spiritual, like an altar actually. And so I said, oh, okay, I see where the commenter is getting that from. Yeah, maybe she was. And I can't stress enough. I can't stress this enough. I have seen situations like this happen where people leave out of certain religions like Christianity or whatever the case may be, and they go and they become a part of the voodoo nation and the culture, and then they get chased by a bunch of demons and they go back to Christianity, or they go into, Hindu, and they meet a bunch of what they call demons and they run back to Christianity. I've seen quite a few videos of people doing that. And whether you are in Christianity or whether you are in spiritualism, you're going to meet those same demons. I don't know why you think that changing religions is going to help you. I don't know why people think that. In modern Christianity, the only difference is over there in Christianity, you lose the power to alchemize them. Why do you lose the power to alchemize them? You lose the power to alchemize them because Christianity robs you of the responsibility of alchemizing them. You have Jesus to put everything on over there. And instead of you realizing that you are the archetype. See, Jesus is an archetype. An archetype of what? Of you, nigga. Like, he's an archetype of you. He's not like he's just as mythological as Zeus is. He's just as mythological as Prometheus is. He's just as mythological. He's you. All of these, they're myths, and they're all pointing to humanity, which you are a part of. So there's nobody even over on the Christian side for you to just escape and throw all your cares on. He literally said out of his mouth, bear your own cross. When they wrote about him bearing his cross, I don't really think maybe the intention was to blind everybody to the fact that they have their own cross that they have to bear. Maybe. But I think that came later. I think the words that came out of supposedly this archetype, this personification of man, this Jesus, the words, the lessons, the examples that he taught is that you all have a cross. If you want to get to a higher frequency, you have to be willing to bear thine own cross. And that's supposed to be the point of Christianity, but that's not what a lot of times they point you to. What they point you to is Jesus has fixed it. He paid it, his blood. You've been washed in the blood, and so on and so forth. And you have no idea the blood magic that you are even tapping into when you go over there. And so what I'm saying is, just because you change religious affiliation doesn't mean that these spiritual processes can be avoided. If you plan on moving to a higher spiritual dimension when you leave the body, then you have to move your spirit into a higher frequency while you are still in the body. And so the darkness that you meet cannot be avoided. And I could spend the rest of my life and never do another video and never say nothing and alchemize my shit and get the fuck on out of here. But it is people like this young lady that I really hope to reach. Now, not everybody's dealing with suicide, but I see in so many ways where people don't want to deal with their darkness, because it is a violent, I've said this before, this ain't no fucking cakewalk. And if you have gone through some sort of spiritual awakening and it has not presented itself in a way that is highly challenging keep going. But know this, it is challenging. It is warfare. Why is it warfare? Because the dark entities who reside in the darkness, who attach to your traumas, they really want to keep you there. Like, you need to understand who you are in order for you to understand your adversary. Because there are entities in those darkness, you want to call them demons, you want to call them whatever. There are entities in that dark frequency who have no way out of that dark frequency. Why don't they have a way out of the dark frequency? Because they are a part of the purging process of the mother, and she has discarded them. This is what you need to understand. She has discarded them. So in essence, the darkness is their judgment, and they are hot about it. They are hot about the fact that they have been judged to reside in the darkness. And so you have the beautiful privilege, painful, challenging, irritating, frustrating, but still a privilege. You have a privilege to escape, to get out of that darkness. But in order to get out, you have to go into it. You have to sit with your traumas and your drama and your hurt and turn it into light. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes individuality. It takes knowing who you are. And it takes the mother. Because that is her. That evolution is her governance. Because everything is her governance. But the evolving out, the purging out of the darkness, that's her doing. And everything that exists is subject to it, including the gods you call gods. So when you go into the darkness, when you sit with, I believe, like the commenter said, that the Toreka young lady was involved in spiritualism. And with everything that had happened to her, the weight of the darkness, the weight of it was too much. And it's unfortunate because there's no way to avoid that. So when you reincarnate, guess what you're faced with? That same darkness. This is why suicide is never the answer. And when I hear people commit suicide, I'm like, God dang. And they got to do this shit again. And now with suicide in their karmic bank account, who knows how many more lifetimes it will take them. That's not, I can't judge that, but I just the idea of having to do it again one more time, it just, it's like, damn. I am very grateful because my soul, when I would be in those frequencies as a child, my soul would always answer me. Would always answer me. A couple times, I thought about slicing my wrist. I thought about taking pills a couple of times. And it's been a very long time since I've gotten that low. I've experienced it maybe 4 or 5 times as a full adult, where I get that low, where I'm like, you know what? But it's been a very long time since that has happened, and it will not be like, I don't even think like that. It's been a long time, and it was way before my spiritual awakening, and way before I got, long as I was up under that Christianity stuff, then I was gonna be having suicidal ideation, because you don't have your personal power intact, so you think that the only way out is to just end it. And so that energy and that frequency will haunt you, and some succumb and some don't, and I'm one that didn't, because the soul would tell me, I need you to do something for me though. And I was very young and I didn't understand it, but the frequency of the words that would come to me, that I need you to do something for me before you can leave, would give me this burst of, all right, I can take it, I can do this, I can do it. And I kept growing, and I kept, getting older, and so on and so forth. And now, with the third eye open, I see that this is what the soul needed me to do for it. It needed me to do my job as the physical vessel, as the physical emanation. It needed for me to do my job, because it can't get out if you don't get it out. And you are the physical vessel that the soul gets out of the darkness through. It is a great responsibility to be a self-initiate, and it is a great responsibility to be a leader. If you are a leader over a spiritual organization, and you have people coming to you, and you're supposed to be a shepherd and protect them from the wolves, and then you turn out and be the very wolf they need protection from. I can't tell you how that angers me. It does. It impassions me. And so, if I could just help one person alchemize their darkness by understanding what the process entails, then I've done a good thing. So, self-love, like any other form of love, will only pull out of you what is in you. People can commit all kind of atrocities out of self-love, and 99.9% of the time, we have to really sit and think, did I do that because I actually love them? Or did I do that because I love me? Whether good or bad. Whether good or bad. And I think that's the illusion of love. And the illusion of love can be very dangerous, because it is an illusion that is like created out of false indoctrination of these energies and not really understanding. Did I do that because I love them, or because I love me? And I think if more people ask that question, 99% of the time, you will have to admit, I did it because I love me. when I do something good for somebody, am I doing it because I purely want to see them experience whatever that good brings to them? Or am I doing the good for someone because of the joy that I feel when I see them experience what I have done for them? Because that is two total different things. And it leads me to believe that everything we do, good or bad, is for the love of self. It leads me to believe that not at least 99%, I think the higher frequency of love, most of us, we have to really sit with, are we there? Because I think that it is a very tricky thing. I think it is a very, maybe challenging, to actually do something good for someone and you yourself not feel good about doing it. Like, how do you separate how you feel, what it makes you feel when you show up loving towards somebody, when you do something loving for somebody? How do you separate how that makes you feel? And so it leads me to believe that whether good or bad, everyone is moving out of the love of themselves. And as long as you know that, whether good or bad, you avoid the illusion and the delusion. And you avoid false expectations, and you can literally live in the moment with a person and appreciate them. And you can exchange that flow of love, giving and receiving. And it can be easy and it can be light. Light in its illumination and light in its weight. But when we operate in these illusions and delusions about love, whether it be self-love, love for another, love of another, it gets heavy and it gets dark. So, love yourselves. Love yourselves enough to sit in your darkness and find and turn it into light. Turn your pain, whatever your trauma is. Know it's heavy. Some people are molested by their parents. Some people are shitted on by their own parents. This was a pastor who was very much like a parent. Because people come to the house of God, they come to the church, they come to religions, they come to spirituality, and they are children in the spirit. Cares about she was chronologically 18 years old, so technically she was a spiritual baby. We are toting a lot of experiences, but those experiences can either be the key to unlock you or the key that keeps you locked. It's the same key. It's the same key. You got to determine how you're going to use it. You got to determine how you're going to use it. You got to determine how you're going to use love. How are you going to use it? This has been the Initiates. I am Yaya, the spiritual doula. If you have made it to this point, gratitude. Thank you so much. Just know that I really appreciate all of you, all of my day ones. The channel is growing beautifully and at a pace that I can handle, and so please take the time to shoot me a thumbs up. It's a great way to support the channel energetically, and hit the like button, subscribe button, and turn on your notification bell so you'll know when I'm back with another one. I will see you guys soon. If you need to or want to or desire to comment, please feel free to comment. Also, feel free to hit me up in my email, which will be at the bottom of the description, if you need any personal readings, need any spiritual counseling, or anything of that sort. I love you guys purely and wholly. All right, peace.